I was a kid, my dad would play me Black Sabbath in the car when I would go to like Little League games and whatnot. So I was in like second grade when I first started to hear stuff that I didn't hear on the radio. So I responded to that at a young age, and that kind of set sail to my interest in particular types of music and art and things that were a little on the edge. You know, I like things that kind of went off the beaten course and were just creating organically from a place where it was coming directly from the musicians or the artists who were making things. You know, these were things that I cherished growing up. These are like my prized possessions. All right, in high school, my favorite band, and the reason I got my first shitty tattoo, was Godspeed You Black Emperor. Canadian instrumental punk band, post-rock, some people call it. I discovered them when I was about 16, and didn't realize until my 20s that they had taken their name from a Japanese Bosozoku documentary called Godspeed You Black Emperor. It's about teenagers in Japan joining motorcycle gangs, coming from broken homes, very similar to the story that punk subculture came out of in the States, you know, middle class, lower class, working class kids gravitating towards a subculture that felt more like a home. I really like Moriyama's work. He's probably my favorite photographer. He shoot handheld camera, little point and shoot, 35 millimeter. Then you have Seiji Kurata's book, Bosozoku. Talk about the perfect way of documenting Bosozoku culture. I mean, you can feel the energy of these photographs and the way that this photo book is put together. You know, you take all these different elements of things that I was inspired by, and then discovering a book like this or a documentary like Godspeed You Black Emperor, it was like, wait a minute. This is the sum of all things. This is what I'm supposed to be involved in. This is what I'm supposed to be paying attention to. This thing existed before I ever knew about it, and now finally I have something to respond to. Being into cars as people understood cars, as I understood cars growing up, there was a lot of status tied to that and a lot of vanity and things that you wouldn't necessarily think were in step with being a punk. It was things that I didn't agree with. It was not my language. But I grew up with a father who built hot rods in Queens in the 70s and 80s. I had a couple friends who were into cars. We didn't have any money. You had $100 in your pocket, max. Like, how am I gonna make my car cooler? And the ingenuity and the fun you have and learning just how to keep this thing running or get a little faster that started to make sense to me and started to relate to the whole do-it-yourself ethos that I was relating to artistically and creatively. I was in college. I had my bug eye at the time. I was very submersed in the whole JDM aspect of sourcing proper parts and being very pragmatic about what to use, what was a valuable asset to this car. It was done right. But again, here I am, this self-identifying punk kid, you know, with all these ideas in my head with an electric blue Subaru. I loved driving it. I loved working on it. I was proud of what I built. And then when I was done with it, I took a step back and I looked at it and I was like, this doesn't even look like my car. The Datsun Z it takes every element of what I was looking for in a car and package it up in something that I immediately responded to. Somebody made that car with their hands, and I was gonna build that car again with my hands. So one good thing that the internet has afforded is given me the ability to source these materials. So every time I get a book or a magazine and there appears to be an article I'm interested in, I have to translate it with an app and read in broken English translation what the meat of the article is. There's information that can then be translated into my searches. To go into the primary source material, that's where you find the gold. In the same way that discovering the Bosozoku subculture was something that I responded to creatively and passionately, buying the Z was something that brought together all my interest in cars. I mean, this is a car that, you know, your average like middle class guy could go out and buy and tune and drive and enjoy. I mean, everyone can approach the Z how they want, and they have, but that's kind of the beauty of that car inherently. The 280Z was just the perfect blend of Japanese history that was in true dialogue with the hot rodding tradition that my dad put me onto when I was younger. You know, it was the lateral move into a completely other realm of tuning. My car has lived on this earth longer than I have. So to build something that I don't even have full ownership of, I should be referring to the conversation that was being had before I entered the room. I collect this ephemera for the same reason that I've been building this car the way that I have been. Being as that this car is older than me and may very well exist beyond me, you're really only the custodian of something that matters more to a culture at large. I want to build something that has some permanence to it. I also want to make sure that the primary source material that inspires and informs that build is in good hands. These things are what inform a well-studied, passionate relationship with that particular medium. I think what's exciting about this period of time is that we can visit a point in time that we never knew about. And if we want to really understand where we're at with tuning culture today, we can study what was there before we ever knew about it. I want to know about the history of this shit before I even consider what's going on right now to be of value to me.